And boy, did you land the plane. Love-hate quarterbacks here.
Thanks.
Patrick Mahomes coming off one of the worst games I can remember from him in recent years, honestly, against the Jets. But he tops the love list here, Matthew, because he's got the Vikings on deck. He's QB1 for you.
That's the point. Is this like you're like, oh, wait, Mahomes is on your love list, really? I'm just like, I don't think people realize, like, by Mahomes standards, when you're grading on a Mahomes bell curve, he's been bad this year. He's just been QB9 on a points-per-game basis. But I put him on the love list this week because he is literally my #1 quarterback in fantasy. I think this starts a great stretch for Mahomes because after this week he gets Denver, then he gets the Chargers, then he gets Denver again. Like this is a 4-game slate, so if you want to trade for Mahomes or any part of the passing attack of Kansas City, this is the last chance to do it. We talked about the fact that this is the highest over-under on the slate. He's placing a Minnesota team that's allowing passing touchdowns at the 6th highest rate this season. And he's actually getting you some points with his legs. So if the passing can come into focus, he's averaging almost 40 rushing yards a game this year. So getting the rushing going, more passing. We think that the Vikings offense is better than they get credit for. They're going to have to put up points again. 53.5 over under, I believe, at the moment. Or it's just 53. I think the over under is just 53. Yep. We expect a lot of points to be scored here.
Yep, Mahomes is suffering from the biggest drop rate of any quarterback in the league, and I understand the receivers aren't amazing, but that should regress. This is the last chance to bet on Patrick Mahomes at plus 550 for MVP. So he's going through a stretch now where he's going to, I think, will be the favorite coming out of this stretch of opposing weak defenses.
We're going to stay right in this game and go to Kirk Cousins, the quarterback on the opposing team of the Vikings. Kirk Cousins comes in as QB7 for Barry this week, Jay. And obviously we saw Zach Wilson had one of the best games of his career against this Chiefs defense on Sunday night.
Yeah, and Cousins just coming for a really strange game against Carolina, which in theory should have been a fine matchup, but he goes 12 of 19, 2 picks, including the disastrous one towards the end zone. So he will be better.
They got a defensive touchdown early on. Like
they didn't need to throw. It was the first time they didn't need to throw. So I suspect that he's going to need to throw to keep pace with Kansas City, and he's got the weapons to put up some massive stats.
He's had multiple touchdown passes in every game this year. The Vikings actually lead the NFL in passing rate, and since the start of last year, Cousins, in games in which 50 or more points are scored, and again, the over-under here is 53, Cousins is averaging 21.5 fantasy points per game in games in which more than 50 or more points are scored just in the NFL. So again, our friends at DraftKings have set the line at 53. We expect this to be a high-scoring game. Give me Kirk Cousins as a top 7 play this week.
Our last quarterback on the love list is Jordan Love. And Matthew, I would have to think at this point when you see the Raiders as the opposition, you probably love that opposing quarterback in fantasy.
The game's in Las Vegas. Who doesn't love in Las Vegas? When you think of Las Vegas, you think of love.
It's the first thing I think
Connor,
of.
It's the first thing. Yeah, exactly.
Wholesome love.
Yeah, well, we found love at Hakkasan, the three of us.
With each other.
Brotherly love, exactly. Brotherly love. Friendly love. The Raiders are bad. 3 of the 4 quarterbacks that have faced them have scored at least 18.5 fantasy points. They're allowing over 20 to opposing quarterbacks. They allow touchdown passes at the the 3rd highest rate this season. 3 straight games with at least 20 rushing yards. Christian Watson back now. Remember, they played the Thursday night game last week, so they've had kind of this mini bye. They've had 10 days to prepare for the Raiders. Christian Watson getting fully healthy. Hopefully Luke Musgrave gets out of the concussion protocol, and he's good to go as well. Romeo Doubs starting to emerge. Aaron Jones should be fully healthy as well off of that hamstring injury. So, yeah, I have Jordan Love as a top 10 play this week.
A few others. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you think Jordan Love's good? Because I have no idea based on what we've seen the first 4 weeks.
I think he's been okay. I think he's missed a lot of throws, but he's also made some really big ones. He's kind of the cranked down Anthony Richardson, where the explosive plays look good, the completion percentage doesn't, and he's been sneakily effective as a runner at times.
Particularly in the Saints game, where he basically won them the game with his legs.
So he's been okay. And I think, to be fair to him, that offense has been missing a lot. No Christian Watson for weeks, no Aaron Jones for weeks. Luke Musgrave goes down. The line's weak.
Yeah, I was just going to say, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The offensive line as well.
I think he's been fine, honestly. I think he'll go in the right direction as they get healthy.
I think he's a work in progress. I think if I was a Packers fan, I would feel good about the future of the franchise. I think ultimately he'll be fine.
Yep.
I think so too.
The jury's not fully out on. The jury's still out. I should say they're still deliberating. Like Sam Howell, I think
he's going to be not guilty.
I think it's in the same boat as Sam Howell on some level, and probably Kenny Pickett too. Pickett's hasn't been that good this year, but I'm not ready to close the book yet on Kenny Pickett.
Some others receiving votes here. Josh Dobbs, who's just been one of the stories of the season. He's got the Bengals. C.J. Stroud, who's been maybe the story out of an impressive offensive rookie class. He could break the rookie passing yards record. Of course, Sam Howell tonight against that, whatever's left of the Bears secondary. And Matthew Stafford against the Eagles here, Jay.
Yep, Matthew, who would you start, Josh Dobbs or Joe Burrow? They're playing each other.
I feel better about Dobbs.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, like,
I think
it's
I am
close,
benching Burrow for Dobbs in a league.
Right.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's insane. But I have Dobbs at QB 10, right? He's averaging almost 22 fantasy points over his last 3. He's the second best quarterback in fantasy since week 2. 3 straight games with 40 or more rushing yards. Like, the only difference is that I'd rather go against Arizona than Cincinnati's defense. Right, sure. But again, Dobbs has produced against Dallas, against San Francisco. So he feels weirdly matchup proof. We've talked about Stroud on this show a lot. Stafford leads the NFL in passing attempts. Very quietly, the Eagles have allowed the 6th most passing yards this season. Like, you can throw on Philadelphia. He gets Cooper Kupp back as well. I'm at QB 16. And then again, future Hall of Famer Sam Howell. Every quarterback that has faced the Bears this year has scored at least 18 fantasy points. Chicago allowing passing touchdowns at the second highest rate this season. Heads up for those betting tonight's game.
We'll close out with the quarterback hate list here, frontlined by Dak Prescott. Jay, you said Dallas has played large part blowouts in one game where they almost got blown out by Arizona. Dak makes the hate list here against San Francisco.
Well, the one game that Dak Prescott needed to win, he couldn't against Arizona. We all saw what he did against San Francisco in the playoffs, so I think it's just a bad matchup for Dak, Matthew.
They allow 12.8 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. 3 of the 4 quarterbacks to face the Niners this year have scored under 14 fantasy points through 2 weeks. Through 4 weeks, the Niners have more interceptions than touchdown passes allowed. So, yeah, Dak is barely inside my top 20. He's not running as much as he would like to. The other quarterback on my hate list here, Jared Goff of the Lions. Carolina, very quietly, allowing under 12 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. That's 6th fewest in the NFL. Lions are 31st in passing rate allowed so far this year, 4 weeks. I mean, they've been surprisingly good, right? I screwed that up. In essence, basically, the Panthers are playing better defense than I think they're getting credit for, and in fact, the Lions aren't throwing. They haven't need to. They're a run-first team, and as basically a 10-point favorite in this game, I don't see Jared Goff throwing a ton.
Yeah, he might throw twice in the fourth quarter.
Amon-Ra St. Brown not 100% healthy as well. 1 or fewer touchdown passes in 3 of 4 games this year for Jared Goff.
Fire up 30 touches for David Montgomery.
Yeah. Again.
Staple like no other.
Should have made the love list.
Love to see it.
Maybe we can get Jameer Gibbs free. But my boy, Dave Montgomery, should have another huge game.
Basketball season is almost here, and that means one thing. It's draft season. Get the Roto-World Basketball Draft Guide, which includes all the rankings, player outlooks, and projections you need to win your league this year. Go to NBCSports.com to get your draft guide now and use code HOOPS23 to save 20% off and receive a $10 Fanatics e-gift card. We're going to break. When we're back, last call, our Thursday Night Football best bets.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.